It's time. It is time to brew your best beer.
The 2020 Sjporr Challenge Gold sponsors Bouncer. A special thanks to double gold sponsor Bouncer, keeping the dregs out with an inline filter for homebrewers, keeping you homebrewers organized on a brew day with Boil Bro, and keeping beer fun with the Growler Bro mini beer flavor infusers. BrewTubers, online brewers club, forums, recipes, articles, new updates, brewing tools, and more. Yakima Valley Hops, fresh from the source to your kettle, supplying hops for homebrewers and the craft beer industry. Omega Yeast Labs, fresh, healthy, unique, pitch-ready liquid yeast for pro brewers and homebrewers. Jaded Brewing, home of the fastest immersion wort chiller, the Hydra, and other brewing supplies. Brady Instruments, supplying the world with high-quality, hand-blown, handcrafted, scientific instruments like the Sjporr Challenge Hydrometer
Hey everybody,
Trophy.
this is MM. I am working through tasting and judging the SJPC Challenge beers. This is beer number 2, and this one, the participant number is C, as in cat, or Charlie, 47-RD1-85U. So C47-RD1-85U. And the label on this one says, the beer style is an American porter. The adjunct for this one is coffee, and the hops are Simcoe, Willamette, and Liberty. It has an ABV of 6.7%. And I just want to touch base on those hops real quick before we get started. So Liberty is a mild, slightly spicy hop. Simcoe is typically used for bittering and aroma. It can take several different flavor profiles from kind of sweet to spicy. And Willamette is a mild, spicy, little bit of an earthy hop. So seems about right for coffee porter. So let's get this puppy open and see what we have happening. Had a good hiss on that one. Got the dog in the background again, so if you hear some barking, I apologize. Ooh. Okay. I didn't do a real aggressive pour. I'm not an aggressive pourer with beers. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm not. So, you know, got some foam on there, got a little bit of a head to it. If I swirl it around, I can work up a little more, which is a good thing. Again, some of that is that I'm not a real aggressive pourer. I should have probably had this out of the refrigerator just a little longer before I started it, but because I feel like it's going to be a little too cold. But we'll do the initial thoughts, and then as I work through it, it'll warm up, and we'll see what we get for the final thoughts. It's definitely got a coffee, that dark coffee aroma nose to it. I'm going to dive in and take a sip. Oh, that's interesting. Has a really beautiful dark kind of dark amber dark amber color to it. I like that. I'm liking the nose. It's a little bit like kind of sticking your nose in a cup of fresh brewed coffee in the morning. My initial thoughts on this one is it's got a nice sweetness up front. Then it dries off and you get that bitter that you would expect from a coffee porter. So it has a nice sort of flavor note that flows through it. I think I'm going to enjoy this one. So I'm going to make some tasting notes, sip on this one a little bit. I'm also going to try to let it come up, get a little bit warmer, as porters tend to. Their flavors tend to meld and enhance a little more as they get a little closer to the room temperature. So we will be back, and I will do some final, the dog's over here with me, so Lily and I will be back, and we'll do some final notes on this one and wrap it up, and I'll let you know what I thought. Had some time to make a few tasting notes, let this warm up just a little bit, drink a little bit more of it. And just as a kind of a recap, this is entry C47-RD1-85U. It is an American porter. The adjuncts are coffee, and the hops are Simcoe, Willamette, and Liberty. The ABV is 6.7%. So, I'm going to run through my list here real quick. Kind of do this with every video just to kind of give you an update if you're not familiar with the SJPC Challenge. We have a standardized scoring worksheet that we use where we look at appearance, aroma, flavor, mouthfeel, overall impression, and then we can make some notes. So, appearance for this one, it's kind of a medium carbonation to this one. It swirls back up pretty good. It is sticky though. It's got some nice legs to it, which is good. So while it's not a super huge, it does have some head retention to it. While it's not super huge, it does stick around on the sides of the glass, which you kind of like to see with these style beers. The aroma on this one hasn't changed a whole lot as it warmed up. You still definitely get that coffee note. Now the bitter coffee mellows as it warms up, and you start to get a little bit more of that grainy, earthy nose to it. Very pleasant nose on this beer. Not overwhelming, but just kind of, I would say, perfect for a porter. From a flavor standpoint, it has changed just slightly as it's warmed up. It's mild from a hoppy standpoint, which is what you want with this style beer, and those sort of mild spicy hops that were added to this one, which were the Liberty, Simcoe, and Willamette. It's got a nice grainy kind of coffee flavor to it. The coffee is not overpowering. That roastiness to it, I think, is pretty mild, pretty even. It's not like biting into a coffee bean. I've had some coffee porters that were like that, where you took a sip of them and it was like you had just crunched into an unground coffee bean. This one is not like that at all. In fact, what I'm amazed by with this one is it has this sweetness to it. There's almost a caramel note in there that really helps balance that out. You get this sweet right in the middle, and then it finishes off with that roasty coffeeness. So I used to be a coffee drinker. I am not anymore. I haven't actually drank a cup of coffee probably in close to, it's been a while. I just don't drink coffee anymore for various reasons. I stopped. This is really enjoyable for me. You know, I like the bitter, I like the flavor, but I also like that sweetness, because I was a splash of cream and a tiny bit of sweetener in my coffee kind of person. As I weaned myself off of it, I started drinking more of it black. But yeah, this has a nice balance to it. I'm very impressed with this porter. Couple things from a mouthfeel perspective. I feel like it could have a little more body. From a drinkability standpoint, it's very easy to drink. It is robust from the flavor standpoint for the most part. My constructive criticism, which I try to do for each of these that I'm tasting, is that it could have a little bit more mouthfeel to it. It is a little on the thin side. Not so terribly so that it detracts from the enjoyment of the beer, but I think if I could suggest the brewer go back and look at anything on this one, it would be how to maybe accentuate that mouthfeel. Give it just a little bit more body. I'm not saying turn it into motor oil, because that's not necessarily the most enjoyable porter either, but just ramp it up just a little bit. It's a beautiful color. It has a great aroma. It is very drinkable. And again, that would probably be my only constructive criticism on this one, that I, for the takeaway, would be to figure out how to kind of get it to be just a little more robust in the mouthfeel category. Overall, though, it's been very enjoyable. I'm enjoying drinking this one. I'm gonna finish it off here, make a few more notes, and get my scoring in. So, cheers to the brewer on this one. You did a nice job, and I am enjoying it. And cheers to everyone else.